Sent the
And
slides.
excellent. All right. Good evening, everybody. Good afternoon, good morning, or good night, wherever you are, whenever you're listening. It is Thursday, February the 20th, 2025. This is the Fakeologist Show. This is the show where we talk about media, hoaxes, psyops, and anything that's somewhat connected to the power structure, to who's running the show, who's making things happen, who's doing what. And one thing I've talked about in the past, probably since 2020, probably when I started doing this show, 2012, which is 13 years ago. One of the topics that always came up with one of my first guests of those days when we were talking about who is in charge was SMOM, the Sovereign Military Order of Malta. And as I do listen to many podcasts, I stumbled upon, this guest who's being presented tonight. I heard him talking on his podcast, which was broadcasting other podcasts that he was guesting on about the SMOM, Sovereign Military Order of Malta. And I thought, there are very few people that have ever talked about this in general. But I thought I better get this guy on and have him on my show. And he is a very well-known presenter, investigator, and he has a huge podcast, and it's quite a get to get William Ramsey on the show, and he has agreed to come on tonight. So, William, thank you for joining. Hello.
Thanks for the invite. Glad to be here. Sorry about the technical problems, but
That
I
is
think I've resolved.
that is the story of computers and this show and all shows. It seems very few go off without a hitch, and that's why we usually spend at least 20 minutes trying to get every show warmed up, thanks to the magic or failure of technology. And I think it's mostly a failure so far, and it's been a long time since I've been using it. So you've got a great presentation tonight, so I don't want to waste too much time with the chit chat and get right in on it.
Yeah, I have two sets. Now, the third one, the one that says Knights of Malta 3, is really the one that you want to pop up. The reason I got interested in the Knights of Malta is actually because it's current. This is the old one. Go to the third one with little Marco there. There you go. Perfect.
Okay. Yes. One says 1 of 25 and one says
it doesn't make sense. The thing is that I just put this other 25 together recently because this is Marco Rubio on his recent trip to the Middle East in front of the Holy Sepulchre. So this is actually during one of his kind of business flights. So it's like he's in front of this place that this group, Sovereign Knights of Malta, basically goes back to all the way back to the Holy Land. This is a group, the Sovereign Knights of Malta is a group that isn't decades old, isn't centuries old. It's literally a millennia old. Wow. Going back to the Holy Land. So they have a very rich history that goes up to the present day. And a lot of these guys that are associated with Trump, the new administration came into power a month ago. A lot of these people surrounding Trump and this new administration are either Knights of Malta or associated with the Knights of Malta. So I think it's very important to have this different kind of this different character of this new administration to kind of understand it. The Knights of Malta is like one of these orders. It's named after St. John the Baptist. And they got the name Malta because they originally were in the Holy Land. They were kicked out of the Holy Land. They went to Cyprus, which is south of Turkey, then to the Isle of Rhodes, which is in the Aegean. And then from Rhodes, they went to the Isle of Malta. If you kind of know European history or the Mediterranean Sea, the Isle of Malta is 3 kind of smaller islands, 5 miles apart, south of Sicily. So it's kind of close to Italy. If you remember the boot, and then Sicily's the island to the west of the boot, and then south of that are the island of Malta that these guys get their name from.
I'm going to bring that up just on my own screen, just for my own edification. Now,
I do have a map, so we'll see a map of it.
Oh, you're gonna have a map too?
Yeah,
okay, that's
it'll
cool.
be there. But I just like these slides. These are Rubio going back. But the real connection is
Whoa.
this is Alina Habas. She has been made a counselor to Donald Trump. So if you remember Kellyanne Conway,
I do.
she was like a spokesman for Donald Trump. Well, she's now in this role. This woman, her father is a chancellor of the American arm of the Knights of Malta. And his so this is kind of a direct connection directly to Trump. So she literally has his ear, almost like a consigliere or something like that, which we'll see later. So that's her in the Oval Office. Alina Haba is her name.
What's her ethnic background?
Good question. Her dad is a Chaldean Catholic. So this is kind of the Catholic Church that existed before the nation states of the Middle East were even formed. So Chaldea, I guess, is somewhere kind of close to present day Iraq. So,
Okay.
But her dad, they're American citizens now, so they are American Catholics, but from the Middle East, so a different.
An exotic look, no doubt.
Yeah, exotic Catholic, exotic Christianity and exotic look, kind of an exotic Middle Eastern look. Also, when Trump got inaugurated, he was inaugurated by John Roberts, another Knight of Malta. So this is somebody who's, we'll see an interesting picture of him in a minute, but it is interesting to see him among the whole Trump family. And he's the one inaugurating him, and this is on the 20th. So we'll see a picture of Roberts in front of a Knight of Malta. This is a guy, just to kind of show maybe some people aren't Catholic or Christian, but some of the power and the overlapping power, this guy came to my attention. His name was Virgil C. Duchamp. He passed away. I think that's a Maltese cross around his neck. If you see that, it's very distinctive. That's it's an 8-point cross, and he's a known Knight of Malta. But just to give you an understanding or an idea of the power of these guys, you can just read his bio. But the overlapping thing, he has 16 honorary degrees, was named a Knight of the Sovereign Military Order of Malta. You can see this on the next slide. Sovereign Military Order of Malta, Knight of St. Gregory the Great, Knight's Grand Cross of the Equestrian Order of the Holy Sepulchre. That's what we saw earlier with Marco Rubio in front of, was the Holy Sepulchre. That's where Christ was crucified. And a Knight Grand Cross in the Order of Pius IX, the highest order granted Catholic. He was a consigliere of the Vatican City State. So people always kind of the parapolitical environment, the three big kind of independent states worldwide are DC, City of London, and the Vatican. So this is like a very kind of important guy. Not a lot of, you won't see him publicized in kind of your local newspaper, but this guy, the Catholic Church really has its foot in many waters, so to speak. And this is an example of an American Catholic. We'll see some other Catholics who overlap. Some of my recent research is that some of these members who are the Knights of Malta, if you remember Al Haig, he was a Knight of Malta, but also was a member of MGM. He sat on the board of MGM and gave the go-ahead to make the movie Red Dawn. So if you remember Red Dawn with Patrick Swayze and some of these other teen actors, it was really a anti-commie propaganda film, and it was greenlit by this guy Al Haig, among others. But you can see this for people who know kind of they're all over European royalty and the big families of old Europe. But this is a Rothschild. You see this distinctive Knight of Malta cross on his chest. So he's a Jewish guy, actually, I believe. But
that's what we're told.
Good point.
Yeah.
But you'll see that they kind of overlap. There's actually Nazis who are Knights of Malta. Not necessarily do you have to be a Catholic, even though it is a quasi-Catholic group. These guys are all kind of all over the media. Their dad, Callie and Casey Means, their dad is a Knight of Malta. They're kind of Trump supporters. You'll see them kind of on TV, but kind of call them the deep state. The Knights of Malta are very public. They actually have very active websites. You can see, you can go to their website and see what they're up there. They're really a charitable organization, but much like the Pilgrim Society that I studied, they definitely are like public. There's public diplomacy. They're very much in private diplomacy. And you see a very nefarious character here. His name is Jimmy Savile, and he's wearing his Maltese cross, talking to, I think that's Pope John II.
Yeah, that was the Polish guy.
Yeah, the Polish guy. So he was a
Yeah.
pope for a while. And Savile is a very dark figure, but it just shows he's overlapping with a lot of very powerful people. We'll see some of these slides later. You'll see the other kind of members, but Jimmy Savile was a papal knight and a knight of Malta. Also friends with other knights of Malta, like Charles III, the current king of England, right? And we'll see some interesting slides about the king of England as well. And they do go back into Renaissance Italy. And Caravaggio, if you remember, was one of the famed kind of great artists in Italy, Knight of Malta. And he actually painted a very important piece about the beheading of John the Baptist. And we'll see that in their church that is in literally on the Isle of Malta. So this is Charles III when he was coronated. He's a Knight of Malta. There's pictures of him and his mom with Maltese crosses, but I gotta find one. But these are the this you'll see this very distinctive where they usually do red and white, but you'll see that in the background of this flag, but also this blue or black with the Maltese cross on their chest. So this is from 2018. This is in St. Peter's Basilica to mark the 900th anniversary of the Knights of Malta. So you can see those people all behind them. Those are all Knights of Malta. There's currently 13,500 members, and there's men and women. So you'll see they call them Dames of Malta,
Mm-hmm.
and we'll see those in a second. This is King George III, excuse me, King Charles III, and he says, "For us, Malta is family." So he has the royal family has a close connection. This is what a Knight of Malta looked like in the 16th century. Very prominent Maltese cross on. And the Maltese cross symbolizes a bunch of virtues, which I'll get into in a second. Prince Charles visits Malta to commemorate courage shown during Second World War. There was a big battle between them and the Nazis. And then there's these overlapping orders, which we'll go into. This is an Italian order, the Constantinian Order of St. George. This is the Royal House of Bourbon and Two Sicilies. So these are kind of these old aristocratic families of old Europe. They're all over the Knights of Malta. And they're actually putting this guy, he's in Order of Malta on the left. That is Benedict II, I believe. I can't remember the Pope's name, but Andrew Bertie.
Benedict. Yeah. Looks like Kirk Douglas on the left.
Yeah, kind of does. His name is Andrew Bertie.
Oh, okay.
And he's on course to become the first head of the Knights of Malta Chivalric Order to be considered as a candidate for sainthood. So literal sainthood. Wow. You see those two prominent Maltese crosses on his chest and on his shoulders. They're kind of
I see that
regalia. But let's go to the other set of slides.
If you can pull that up. I'll pull
that up. Do that.
No, I'll do it.
So this is the cross. This is the cross of the Order of Black and White. Red and white. But it's you'll see that all over the place, like prominently displayed. And the 8 virtues that it symbolizes are loyalty, piety, honesty, courage, honor, glory, contempt for death, solidarity towards the poor and the sick, and respect for the church. So it does have like a meaning for them. And they're really supposed to be kind of a order that is a service order. They, heal the sick just like St. John or Christ. Going back to the kingdom of Jerusalem is what it was. But the Order of St. John of Jerusalem. It's kind of confusing. There's a lot of these different knighthoods. The Knights Templar is a different group than this one. The Knights Templar was formally wrapped up, I think, in the 14th century, but they are a different order than the Order of St. John of Knights of Malta or Knights of Malta. So, but you'll see their colors all over the, and there's like some of these white supremacists think of themselves as Knights Templar or Knights of St. John, but there's a lot of unofficial connections to these guys, which are baloney. But you'll see these colors all the way through kind of Western Europe and European, and all the way to the States, really. They definitely have an impact in the States. But here's a list of known members of the Knight of Malta. They don't publish all of their lists, but these are people who've admitted that they're members. And some of these are well known. William Casey, head of the CIA, Prescott Bush, father of George H.W. Bush, and the current grandson, George Bush Jr. Haig, like we mentioned before, Habsburg royal family. Himmler, right, was a member of the Nazis, if you remember.
Mm-hmm.
Um, Luce, Henry Luce, this is time life type people.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, a lot of different stuff. Turkish, Italian, Frank Sinatra of all people, interesting.
Mm-hmm.
Clay Shaw, who, if you remember, he was involved. He was the only person really tried for the JFK assassination at Night of Malta, which I think is very interesting. So he's associated with a lot of those people. Harold Philby was the spy. He was one of the great traitors of the Cambridge Five. Franz von Papen was an associate of Hitler, kind of another conservative German. Somehow survived. Didn't get. I don't think he was murdered in the Night of the Long Knives. Maybe his Night of Malta ship kept him alive. Angleton, spy, right? Bertie, we just mentioned earlier, the sainthood guy. Bonaparte, Charles Joseph, that's Napoleon Bonaparte's grandson. So a lot of famous people. Pat Buchanan, never, he doesn't really mention it that often, or if he does. And then the Dulles brothers, Wild Bill Donovan. A lot of kind of auspicious names.
Mm-hmm.
This is how the order is organized. If you look at this, they're really independent, a part of the church, the Catholic Church, but independent as well. So they kind of have a quasi church relationship. But you see the Sovereign Council, Grand Chancellor, Grand Hospitaller, a lot of different types of people. This is their original island of donation. This is the seating of the, for I think it's the Holy Roman Emperor Charles V in 1530. So this is the granting of the three islands of Malta. Malta, Gozo, and Tripoli are the names of the islands. So they're all granted to um, the Knights of Malta. You'll see that there.
From the Holy Roman Empire?
Yes. Yeah, that's
Okay.
it.
Yeah, there's
This is
one
what,
little island in the middle, Comino.
yeah, yeah, very good. So this is this is kind of like there today, this kind of beautifully ornate meeting hall, I think this is, and it's His Majesty Victor Bourbon, King of the Maltese. I think this is real. Government meeting area. They're working on it. There's the Queen, right? The mother of King Charles III.
Yeah,
And her,
she's on all our Canadian money. Well,
yeah,
used to
okay.
be anyway.
There you go. That's her
We're weaning
Maltese
her off.
royals. She's a prominent member. There she is. And this is the ambassador to Malta, Summers Farkas, with the notorious Ghislaine Maxwell at some party. I just kind of found that interesting. And that's the guy from South Africa with his Maltese cross. You almost never hear. What's that guy's name? I always forget his name.
Nelson Mandela effect.
Thank you.
Well, his last name isn't effect, but they use it all the time in current conspiracy nonsense.
Yeah, I wish I could find out the guy on the right. I don't know his name, but yeah, Nelson Mandela member. So they actually, have a lot of members in Africa. It's hard to believe, but this is kind of they're depicted in so many art pieces,
Mm-hmm.
and you'll see this. This is Philippe de Villiers, and it's multinational, multi-ethnic. It's not all one group: Germans, Italians, all these other people. But you'll see these guys are taking possession of these beautiful. Malta is apparently very beautiful, and this is them with their prominent Maltese crosses.
Mm-hmm.
And these are kind of overlapping. I've done all the shows on the Pilgrim Society, so they overlap membership. The Pilgrim Society is more Anglo-American establishment stuff, headed by the King Charles III. But you see these other kind of groups. Some of these I don't even know, but it is interesting to see these here. This is Le Cirque, which is another they're truly kind of a fascist organization, overlaps with the Pilgrim Society, but it's and Bilderberg's. But that's David Rockefeller, the second from the right, who was a member of the Knights of Malta. And you'll see these kind of classic old families of Europe. This is one of them, Otto von Habsburg, the Habsburg German dynasty. He's a Knight of Malta, a member of Opus Dei, and also a pan-European integrationist. So these guys who pushed for the EU and stuff like that. This is an interesting guy, really fascinating guy. A show in itself. His name is Reinhard Gehlen, but he was Hitler's kind of intel chief for the Soviet Union. And you can see him wearing prominently his Knight of Malta. So he's kind of also part of these international orders. They really think of themselves as knights. So
And by the way, this slide you've got here has sort of a question I was going to ask you from the top before we got going, and it says here, "All roads have always led to Rome, not the Jews atop it all." Now I
I
know
think,
you're an investigator. You must stumble upon this on the daily that the
all the time,
Jews are running the whole show.
or the Jesuits, or just something. But the Catholic Church globally
Hmm.
dwarfs the power of of Judaism. But I think I think their relationship with the Jews or Zionists is fairly close. Like they're pro Jews going back to the Holy Land.
Hmm.
So I think they have the support generally of Catholicism. So I think that that's why you almost never see conflicts between the Knights Templar or some of the other knighthoods or the Catholic Church and Israeli state. Like I don't think that they never ever come out and say, "Oh, you've committed a genocide in the Gaza," or you need to stop blowing people up or all this stuff.
Well, we
So
never hear about them at all. That's why I'm having you on the show. It's not that we don't hear them about them in conflict. We just don't hear them at all. Most people don't even know they exist.
yeah.
And I've been talking about this type of talk, like I said, on the top for 13 years, and very few people, if anyone out there, talks about it.
It's really a secret power, and I think the Catholic Church holds its power. Like it's the biggest landowner in the world, the Catholic Church, and in maybe North America, maybe not as much influence as
Mhm.
there's other Protestant
More
orders,
than
but
the Crown of England?
I think so. I think they're more influential. I think because they really kind of dominate South America, are all
Mhm.
Catholic, Central
Yeah, I agree with that,
America,
yeah.
and so in some other places, there's a lot of Catholics. Believe it or not, there's in Africa as well. So I do think, and all over Europe, of course. So I think that they have a lot of secret power, and if the Catholic Church really kind of mobilizes to have a political aim, I think they move through these orders, this secret order. They're not really secret, but it's private diplomacy. It's so they don't go. We're going to go talk to your Secretary of State and this Secretary of State. They'll go to a Knight of Malta meeting place in New York City or something like that and hash things out. So I think
Mhm.
that
Or
is
they
different.
just
So the
pick up the
public never
phone.
sees it. So a lot of that policy is made before it's laid out to the public. If that
For
makes
sure.
sense. Yeah.
Oh, for
So
sure.
Galen's post-war life is very curious. So he is friends with Dulles, so both Knights of Malta, right? And so their connections and this Malta is very anti-Catholic. Like the Catholic, I mean, sorry, I misspoke. The Catholic Church is very anti-communist. So a lot of these guys, they are all have a very anti-communist worldview, and they believe themselves they really do believe themselves knights. Some of their critics say these guys are LARPers, live action role players, or Christo fascists. I don't think they're fascists. I think maybe the left would view them as fascistically because that's the way they think, but I don't think they're LARPing either. I think they're very serious. I think they do go back to the Holy Land, and they do have this as connections. So there's Galen. He was arrested, but supposedly turned into a U.S. intel asset. But that's and a lot of these guys are involved in rat lines and getting really horrible Nazis out of Germany and stuff like that. Other Catholics. So this is a map of Malta. The main city is Valletta. It's on the bottom, kind of right hand side. The main island is Malta, and then you said Comino, that small island's there, and then Gozo. But that's only about 15 miles across, so it's
Mhm.
not a huge island by any chance, but it is beautiful. These are just a picture, just to show the natural turquoise water and beauty of it. And
Yeah,
they
it's
held
sort of
off.
like a paradise.
Yeah, it's almost like a paradise, but they're famous for holding off the an attack by the Ottoman Turks in 16th century. Mel Gibson supposedly in production on a movie about it,
Hmm.
and that would be interesting. So hopefully that'll get done. I'm not sure. This is the St. John's Cathedral in Valletta that I just mentioned, and it has 400 tombstones of knights and officers of the order. Each tombstone is inlaid by a colored marble slab bearing crest, coat of arms, and epitaph of a buried knight. So this is just kind of the ornate. care taken for this place, and kind of, the grandeur is really significant. But my understanding is that they engaged in piracy. Well, like they raided a lot of Arab and Muslim boats and things like that. So they were accused of piracy.
Right.
But it could be just
It was just
considered warfare.
taxation.
Yeah, I mean, one man's piracy is another guy's warfare. I guess, I don't know. So I think that was a critique of them, and you'll see the skull and crossbones on a lot of these burial things. If you look around the edge of this, for example, you'll see the skull and crossbones, which is the map of the pirates, right? So these guys are arguably the early antecedents of the modern piracy. But this is kind of interesting because there's what's called the Star of David now. But you'll see outside of that Star of David, the crest, you'll see the 8 prongs of the Maltese cross. And you'll see that here as well. And this is all kinds of suit of armor and crests and things like that. This is kind of a piece there. You'll see the prominent Maltese cross up on the edge of the walls, but this is Caravaggio's The Beheading of St. John the Baptist. So that's probably a priceless artifact in this church in Valletta in Malta. It's really beautiful, and you see that same kind of white and red cross, and then the Maltese cross there as well. And this is what it looks like. Beheading of John the Baptist. If you remember, Salome danced and then asked for something, and it was the head of John the Baptist, and then somebody did it. This is in the Uffizi, which is kind of the main museum that's in Italy, and this is something by Titian, a famous kind of painter. And this is a Maltese knight wearing the Maltese cross on his necklace and pointing to the Maltese cross that's on his breast. Sammy Davis Jr., Knight of Malta. There he is. He's got the Knight of Malta kind of cape. Really interesting guy, also friend of Satanists, and arguably an outright
Well, they pump him up as being Jewish is the big deal. that's the only thing you ever hear about.
There's more to that.
Him.
More to him. There's a famous picture of him with Michael Aquino and Anton LaVey. I don't know if you've seen that.
No.
But yeah, well, that's a whole other story. It's also used in this the Maltese cross in this kind of zombie apocalypse movie, The Umbrella Corporation. It's what's the girl's name? She's the head. I can't remember right now, but
yeah, I've heard a little bit about it.
Pops up in this film. So this is, you'll see in the background, that is St. John baptizing Christ. If you remember your Bible, he goes to John to be baptized, and I think John says, I should be the one, you should be the one baptizing me. And then John the Baptist, Christ says, we must do this to fulfill all righteousness. And then St. John the Baptist baptizes Christ. So baptism, central element of Christian faith. And that guy who is there to the left is the head of the order of the Knights of Malta. He's to the left of this guy in the plate. And these guys are all in their regalia. His name is Dunlap. And just to kind of show the overlapping power and an influence of the Knights of Malta, this is Patrick Kelly, the head of the 14th Supreme Knight of the Knights of Columbus. And the Knights of Columbus is huge, kind of like we talked about that one guy, Virgil, earlier. But this guy has a great CV, has served in the United States Navy 24 years, but he's a Knight of Malta too, and a Knight of Columbus, which is huge. They have like $109 billion in life insurance funds that they hold on. They has a lot of power. So the organization comprises 1.9 million members in more than 15,000 councils and operates an insurance company with over 109 billion of life insurance in force as of 2020. Just shows
that's 2 1 and 9s. I'm hyper acute about the numerology and COVID-19 and just these numbers just come up over and over again.
Yeah,
So
they love 19. Yeah.
they love it. Yeah.
This is a medieval picture of the Knights of Malta. I don't know the name of it, but you can tell those are the Maltese Knights. And just its name, the full name of the Order of Malta is the Sovereign Military Hospitaller Order of St. John of Jerusalem, of Rhodes, and of Malta. So that's it. They were originally called the Knights Hospitaller to describe their mission, but they were also called the Knights of St. John because the order's patron saint, St. John the Baptist, and also of Jerusalem because their presence in the land. So it gets kind of confusing. But 1,000 years old, really something else. So this is the guy Dunlap. I think he's in that church. That's a picture of Christ and St. John in the background. And he's making a hand gesture that's called "I am initiated." So whenever somebody puts their hand across their breast like that,
oh, okay,
it became a Masonic gesture, but I believe it's from the Catholic Church.
oh, okay, yeah. Don't they have to tuck it in between the?
No, that's a different order. This is the one. That's the secret. The black hand or whatever.
Oh,
this is different. Whenever you see somebody putting their hand across in that way, he's telling people, "I'm an initiate." That's what it is. He's initiated in some elements, so maybe there's an initiation element to the Knights of Malta that I'm not aware of, but I know what that means. Because you see Aleister Crowley make this all the time. This hand gesture. Yeah, John Dunlap. He's a Canadian, 66-year-old Canadian, first professed knight from overseas. So this is a lot of good stuff is on X. So this is just public information, May 2023.
I never heard of the guy. Wonder where he's.
Yeah, people who think that the Knights of Malta is like super secretive are just. You just look around; they're all over the place. Their websites are everything. Their names are listed. Like I'm not like I have a paranoid view of these guys. I think they do a lot of good work. It's just that they're very powerful. They have a lot of connections and.
Are they the deep state? Or one of them?
I think that they're involved in a lot of things in the government. I think they're active. I don't think they're passive, kind of like they're actively involved in world events is what I would say. So I don't think they're monastic. It's not a monastic order. It's kind of like an active do good works order. And part of that, to me, this is my interpretation, is to be involved in politics. And we'll see that later with some of these slides. Because Bannon is friends with one of these guys who's a Maltese knight. And then Eric Prince of Blackwater fame is a Knight of Malta. These people are all around Trump. So I don't think they're joking around. A lot of them are open Catholics. So this is them doing a reading there. More Knights of Malta. I believe this is in Malta. There's mimic orders. So like these people fake it to get the prestige of Malta. But this is from their website saying, hey, watch out. There's some inauthentic people around.
Watch out for imposters.
Yeah, they're like that in the Catholic Church. There's like this whole order of like the fake Catholic Church order that exists. But these are some of the famous people. King Charles III, Juan Carlos of Spain, and a lot of names from Europe. Dunlap we just mentioned. But Festing, Boslager, Duke of Castro, Alessandro, Thornbjorn, Egner. So there's, it's a mix. It's a mix of European royalty, a lot of it. Some of the other famous members, Bill Casey, that was the OSS, right? Alan Dulles and, Casey was the guy who was the head of the CIA, and then Wild Bill Donovan, William J. Donovan was the other one from OSS fame.
William Casey's the one that said, once we know the American people.
Yeah, he's not a good person, I don't
believe everything. Yeah.
So this is the Hospitallers or the Knights of Malta in St. Peter's Basilica. A very prominent obelisk in the background, but they're walking into the church. There was Pope dissolved, the Knights of Malta leadership enters new constitution in 2022. They had a little thing about debate between the order and some of the top members of the old guard in the Vatican over a new constitution that some fear would weaken its sovereignty, because it calls itself the Sovereign Order of the Knights, because they're really not under like the other Franciscans and the Dominicans and the Trappists are all underneath the Pope, and this is how they have kind of a. They actually have rights at the UN. The Knights of Malta do. They're an independent order. They can issue passports, so they have a lot of privileges.
So are they still sovereign though?
Yes, they're
Yeah.
still
Okay.
sovereign. They
I like
maintain
how
their sovereignty.
the Pope issues a decree. What countries just follow in the lead of the Pope and issue decrees? Our country, of course, during COVID's issued decrees. They call it Order of Councils here, and Trump is just firing off executive orders, which may as well be. He considers them decrees,
Yeah,
and
yeah, it's a good question. I mean,
just sort of rendering the Congresses completely neutered. What is the point of Congress?
your king. Well, actually, not your king. Trudeau has prorogued certain things, and King Charles
No,
has
King
pro.
Charles is our king. He is our
Okay,
king.
well, he prorogued, which means he made decisions without the House of Commons and without the House of Lords recently. Like made tax decisions and other things. It was the first time a king has prorogued in decades, or if not
No,
centuries.
no, no, no. We've had proroguing with the
Okay,
prime minister before. It's not a big deal, really.
well, the one that King Charles Charles III did, I thought was a big deal because he enacted
Hmm.
any like fallow land that wasn't claimed sheets back to the king. So he basically just picked up a bunch of free land
Well, I
that
think the
was sitting
king
around.
owns all of Canada anyway.
Okay,
We
well, this
we
is
could
true.
go
That's true.
far back on that, but
I think
during
he owns
COVID,
everything. I think he owns everything in the British Empire. Actually,
yes,
he ultimately owns all the land. Yeah.
I think the crown does. I think, and that, as I said before, during COVID, and still to this day, the I call him the crime sinister of Canada, issues orders and councils OICs, which are essentially just decrees on behalf of the king, and they he just says it's so and it's so. There's no parliamentary debate. Doesn't matter if parliament's in session.
Right.
He can issue an order in council anytime, and that just shows that the power is democracy is just an illusion for sure. And COVID made that more and more obvious.
Yeah, I think you're right. Especially if you're in the Commonwealth, there's no question.
Yeah.
I think that here in the States, they've been fixing elections for decades, if not centuries. But
Well, the federal election, they don't need to.
yeah,
There's nothing in the Constitution, as Bill Cooper said, to facilitate a vote for president. That's that's just that's just a poll. The fact that
it's
they
a poll of the states, right? It's a poll of
yeah,
right,
the states are the ones that decide who the electors are for the
right.
electoral college. So the fact that people directly vote for president is almost like a again, just a poll that is
Yeah, yeah,
guidance.
yeah.
It's not binding in any legal constitutional way
No,
at all.
no, you're absolutely right.
So they don't have they could put anyone in there. It's just they just
Well, it would
put it
have to
on.
be based upon the states and their electors, right? Because
Mhm.
that's what the electoral college. That's actually legal.
Exactly, yeah.
Yeah,
But the idea that you vote directly for president is ludicrous.
yeah, it's ridiculous. Yeah. So here is multi-million-dollar budget, 13,500 members, 95,000 volunteers, 52,000 medical staff, refugee camps, drug treatment centers, disaster relief programs, and clinics around the world. Very active in helping Ukrainian refugees and war victims. It has no real territory apart from a palace and offices in Rome and a fort in Malta, but it is recognized as a sovereign entity with its own passports and license plates. Has diplomatic relations with 110 states and permanent observer status at the United Nations, allowing to act as a neutral party in relief efforts in war zones. So the Pope has a special delegate to the order, Cardinal. So it's very unique. Let's see. These are just guys in regalia. This is the Great Party Malta meeting. I think this is in London. You see all the regalia and all the night, all the stuff. This is the Pope wearing his Maltese cross. This is Bergoglio.
Yeah.
Just
Randy,
overlaps with a lot of UN stuff. This is kind of a flow chart. Just
did you get this off Twitter
yeah,
too?
Twitter. A lot of the stuff came off Twitter. There's a lot of good stuff on Twitter.
Oh yeah, I
It's
agree.
become a good research piece. But this is another kind of a piece of American political history. This is the Heritage Foundation head, Edwin Fulner, Knight of Malta, very conservative, a think tank, and he co-founded it, was its head basically from 1977 to 2018, almost 50
William,
years.
what do you think it means to be, when you say conservative and very conservative? What does that mean to you?
That's a good question. I mean, I think that the kind of paleo conservatives are like super Christian and define themselves by kind of the heritage of like biblical doctrines. I think that would be an accurate thing. Like, there's no tolerance for same-sex marriage and communism and disloyalty and unpatriotic behavior. And
So did they proclaim Christ as their king?
yeah, I think so. I think this guy would. Fulner would. I would say also capitalism, and the conservative in the United States would be support of the Constitution and loyalty. So I think that would be it. That's how I would define it. But Fulner's an interesting guy, Knight of Malta. This guy's tendrils everywhere. One of the interesting things about the Knights of Malta is the culture of the Knights of Malta kind of bleed into cultural history with the Maltese Falcon movie, right? And the Maltese Falcon is a grant. Emperor Charles V required people to send him one Maltese Falcon as ownership for this property. You can see this is the tribute of the Maltese Falcon. I guess in falconry, it's very special. But that was the Maltese Falcon with Humphrey Bogart. Written by Dashiell Hammett with Peter Lorre, directed by John Huston. It's basically about trying to get the Maltese Falcon. If you've watched that movie.
Yeah, I didn't see that one.
Yeah, there's Bogart with that.
You haven't seen that movie?
Yeah. You haven't? Yeah, check it out. It's good.
I'll watch it. Okay.
This is the Maltese Cross that's used as one of the emblems of one of the secret societies at Yale. And then there was kind of a hubbub between Seymour Hersh, who's the U.S. is like one of the most preeminent journalists, but he said something that really made people angry. He had kind of this is during the Iraq War and occupation, but he basically said all the people made claims about the Knights of Malta and Opus Dei in a speech delivered in Qatar in January 2011. The key points were the members of JSOC, Joint Special Operations Command, were Knights of Malta. They're either supporters of Knights of Malta or were and part of Opus Dei. And Hersh said an attitude among a large percentage of JSOC personnel is being anti-Muslim and driven by a crusader mentality. He quoted one individual saying, quote, "We're going to change mosques into cathedrals. That's an attitude that pervades, I'm here to say, a large percentage of the Joint Special Operations Command." So I think he was right. Like, these guys are Knights of Malta.
What is their attitude towards Jewishness?
Well, it's not public. I mean, I think that there's always been a Christian antipathy towards Judaism and Jews.
Well, given that Jews haven't accepted Christ as their king, that's hardly...
It's hardly surprising, right? I mean, in the New Testament, Jews say the New Testament is anti-Semitic. And I think that it is anti-Semitic. There's all kinds of battles between Paul and Jews. The Jews are following him around. The Jews are trying to kill him. He says things about the Jews that they become I can't remember the direct quote in which missive it was, which epistle. But it was one he says, the Jews have done work not pleasing to God, and their works are anathema or something like that. It's interesting because somebody asked this guy Mayorkas, he literally quoted the Christian Bible in that exact quote, which I can't remember offhand. So I think that the Christian, I think it is. I mean, I guess in a
isn't to be
it's anti-Jewish. The New Testament is
isn't it to be
anti-Jewish.
Jewish to be fundamentally antichrist? They deny Christ.
Yeah, I think that's fair. They denied Christ. They deny, in my opinion, as a Christian, they deny their own Messiah, the Jewish Messiah, which became the Christ. It became Christianity, and it morphed. I mean, all the people who founded Christianity are Jews. I don't know if there's one outlier. Maybe Bartholomew or something like that. I don't know. But those are all Jews. Christ clearly, I mean, they repeat his, lineage in two places. I think Matthew and Luke, going back through like all the great Old Testament fathers, right? David and Abraham, all these other people. So it's an open question of what's a Jew. What does that mean? Like I could say you're a Christian. That doesn't mean it could be you like Jim Jones. I don't know. So like, what does that mean? Like, what does a Jew today mean? I don't know. I mean, I guess are you a Talmudic Jew? There's a lot of fights in Judaism, and I think Christianity and Christianity or a Messianic Judaism, if Jesus of Nazareth is the Messiah, I think that's a huge, vicious fight within Judaism originally 2,000 years ago. Right? So some of these terms are things, but I do think that the way that the Old Testament was written, I wouldn't say the Gospels, but Paul's, epistles are in part, not viciously anti-Jewish, but there's contest between Paul and Jews. Like he got beat up. You can go through the list of all the times he's beat up, jailed, brought to near death, but eventually beheaded, according to legend, by the Romans. So anyway, I mean, that's a tough question, but it's still here today, though. I think it's still a relevant question.
I'm really trying to get a feel from you given what you're saying about these people, that they accept Christ as their king, that they have their own sovereignty that's based on that Christian identity. I don't get a strong impression that there's anything other than cooperation between these guys and Jewish organizations. Am I misreading that?
No. It's much like I said earlier. Like, I think that the Catholic Church is sympathetic for Zionism and Jews. The modern Catholic Church doesn't have these pogroms. It doesn't have maybe the kind of biases it had in the past. It doesn't seem to have that. I mean, they literally took Jews and put them in ghettos and stuff like that. Like, you can go to ghettos in Italy. So I don't.
That was for their safety.
Sure, but
so what's your view of the change in attitude? What do you think is going on?
It's a good question. Well, I mean, recent history wasn't great. I mean, what happened during what's called the Holocaust or Shoah? Clearly, 6 million people were murdered. But
well, that's the official story, but a lot of people challenge that.
Well, a lot of people are missing. Then they didn't go to Madagascar. Yeah, maybe sympathy or willingness for Jews to kind of also cross the aisle for different religions, or it goes back. Maybe it goes back to the Balfour Declaration.
Do you think the creation of Israel is there to set Jewish people up in some way?
I don't know. I mean, I think that the Zionism started with Herzl, right? And that's at the turn of the century. When is that? The turn of the century. So I think it predates a lot of the stuff today. So I think that the return to the Holy Land it could be, but there's a lot of external support from people who aren't Jewish. So I think they have a lot of sympathizers in the Christian church, certainly in the Catholic and what's known as Catholic and Protestant churches are pro-Israel, very strongly pro-Israel, as a matter of fact. But as a setup,
yeah,
I mean, they've been fighting. They haven't stopped fighting literally before the creation of Israel in 48. So there were all kinds of pogroms and vicious fighting between the Israelis and Arabs and the whole Arab world.
So would it be fair to say at this stage, William, that you haven't got a strong model about what the connection between Israel and these guys is?
Well, he's just presenting evidence on who they are, really.
Yeah, I don't know. It's getting a little hostile. I don't know why you're putting
No,
me
no,
on the
sorry,
spot.
I'm not trying
I'm
to
a
be
guest.
hostile.
I'm a guest.
Sorry,
Yeah,
I'm not trying to be
you have
hostile.
an axe to
I'm not-
grind. That's
I'm not-
another story.
no,
Do you have an
I'm
axe
not
to
trying to-
grind? Like, these
Let
are tough
me-
questions. I don't know. I came on
Sorry,
to talk
let me-
about the Knights of Malta,
Sure,
not
let
about
me-
Jews and Christians fighting. If you want to
No,
do a
let-
show on, hey, Christians and Jews fighting, let's do it.
Yeah,
Well,
Like,
let
you
me
want to ask
explain-
my
let-
theological
let me
thing? I'm
explain
not
what
the
I-
Pope. I'm not the
let
Pope.
me explain what
Stop
I'm trying to
talking
do.
over me. Also,
I'm
another
not-
thing, if I'm talking, don't talk.
I
You're
was just
barely
simply
letting
asking
me talk.
questions. I
What?
was just simply asking questions. All I was asking questions.
No, Frank, let's get back to the
No, you're not. No, you're not. That's a bunch of baloney. That's totally dishonest.
Frank,
It's not even on the topic that I came on to talk about.
That is correct.
That
Frank,
is so stupid. I can't even believe you said that, Frank. I'm just asking questions. You're not. You have some kind of weird axe to grind or put me under the spot of this whole Jewish thing. I tried to answer it as best I could.
yeah, Frank, we're getting off topic. Let's get back.
Do you hate Jews? What? I mean, I don't know. What's going on? Everything okay?
Everything's fine.
No, it's not. But go ahead.
Okay,
Anyway,
William,
this is
let's get back to the presentation, please,
yeah,
if you don't mind.
Hirsch.
That is why you came on the
Crystal.
show for sure. Frank took a bit of a detour there.
Yeah, but like, it's asking me stuff I don't know about. I'm not a Knight of Malta. I'm not initiated in any way. How would I know?
Yeah,
Like,
Frank,
you're
he's
kind
just
of like it's some kind of barbed question. Like, so are you saying like I know? Why I'm not the Pope? I don't know. A lot
Okay.
of this stuff I didn't know anything about the Knights of Malta.
William,
Much
I
like
apologize.
Tim, I don't know.
I apologize.
William is investigating. William is an investigator. He's just bringing up and summarizing the Knights of
Yeah,
Malta for us.
I get it. Yeah, I apologize.
Yeah, okay. Frank,
So this is Eric Prince, known Blackwater, very much involved when they tried to kill Trump in July 2024. Here he is talking about the Knight of Malta tradition on RT, which really doesn't exist anymore because of the war against Russia. But he
Okay.
was talking about it on 2014. Just a list of other kind of important people. Rupert Murdoch, confirmed member, Knight of Malta, very important guy. Leonard Leo's very important, Federalist Society, Opus Dei, but very much involved in conservative politics here and the judiciary in particular. So, and Schlafly is kind of a well-known figure in the United States, but this Cardinal Raymond Burke we'll get into is a Steve Bannon ally. And these guys were working together. So Steve Bannon is definitely in the orbit of the Knights of Malta. So we talked about Jimmy Savile. Just another picture of these guys, the regalia, red and white flag, and then the prominent Knight of Malta on the chest. This is Burke. He's making that initiated hand sign, much like the head of the Knight of Malta. But this is friends with Bannon, or associates, I would say more than friends. They were working together at this thing called the Institute of Human Dignity, Dignitatis Humanae Institute. And so it's kind of it's very recent, actually. In 2014, the Institute invited Steve Bannon as one of his keynote speakers at a conference to discuss poverty, which he praised European far-right parties. So that's kind of one overlap. And then there's Haba again, this woman I mentioned earlier. She's the daughter of the Chancellor of the U.S. Knights of Malta. And this guy's a critic, so he calls them Christo-fascists. And supposedly sided with Hitler in World War II. I don't know if that's true. I think they sided with the Germans after World War II ended, but I don't know how much truth that is to it. But this guy, Christchurch killer Brenton Tarrant, included inscriptions to the Knights of Malta on his shotgun. So these are probably people, much like I mentioned earlier, who kind of take on the name, the Knights of Malta, who are not members. So that's the father here, Saad F. Haba. And so it's a prominent doctor in the U.S. And that's his daughter. That's
Kellyanne,
right? Yeah, that's
with
together. So
their
this
big
is the
mouth open. Bad look.
not a great look, but
No.
interesting nonetheless. Kind of the passing of the baton, so to speak. This is recent. This is January 13th,
Yeah.
2025. Yeah,
I've never heard of this woman, but I sort of lost interest in the whole cabinet show after
there's I
yeah.
think in these slides there's an announcement of like the where Trump makes her counselor, but I think she was his attorney in the New York cases. So it's, I think, either the rape case or something. So she kind of earned her
Right.
credibility with Trump and then was elevated. So now, unlike other people who didn't make it through. But this is her father, the chancellor, Abbas' father at Knight of Malta.
Hmm.
And he's literally on their website, Saad F. Haba, MD. So pretty amazing. 1,000-year-old group.
It's extremely interesting, and I guarantee most people don't know anything about it.
No. And this
I
is her kind of chumming around with the new head of the FBI today. Right. So whatever the days is it.
oh, did Cash get approved for
Yeah,
today?
he got approved today. So
Oh boy.
Cash Patel is hanging out with an. She may be a dame of the Knight of Malta. I have not confirmed that. So I don't know. And this is a known Knight of Malta, Eric Prince, during the assassination hearing that took place August in 2024. So not that long ago. He actually, I think, made the introductory statement. So that's a Knight of Malta.
Looks like Alex Jones beside him. A thinner Alex Jones. I know it isn't him, but it just says
I
that.
think that's Dan Bongino. And
Oh,
then
is
on
it
the left, I don't
Bongino?
know. Yeah, it's
Code
Bongino.
Bongino, yeah.
Yeah. So Prince is around, so he's on this guy, Sean Ryan, supposedly ex-CIA agent, but that's open to dispute.
I've heard the name, but I've never listened to him.
Okay, that's another one. Yeah, so this is just that Seymour Hersh thing that I was talking about, this kind of whole kerfuffle. One of the other things is that this overlapping orders. So you have the Knights Templar. This is another one called the Knights of the Holy Sepulchre. They're
Mhm.
Catholic order of knighthood under the protection of the Holy See, literally under the Pope. And it's to support the Christian presence in the Holy Land. So you want to talk about overlapping with the Jews returning to the Holy Land. This order has always been involved in maintaining the Christian presence in the Holy Land. And there's definitely some friction between the Christian presence and the Jews restarting the state of Israel in 48.
Mhm.
But this is Fulner. So you'll see this Fulner guy. He has these overlapping things. If you see at the bottom, he's a Knight of Malta and a Knight of the Holy Sepulchre. So you see that there, amongst other achievements. Like, he's a very accomplished guy, accomplished conservative. And this is kind of a friend of Trump in New York City. His name is Dolan, and he'll have this kind of
Timothy Dolan. He does the that big meeting.
Yes, it's
every
like
year.
a charitable meeting, right? That they
Yes.
all go, where Trump famously told Hillary Clinton she'd be in jail. But this is recent. This is November 26, 2024, where he's talking about the Knights of Malta. So you can literally go to this video or go to his social media and
Mhm.
hear him talk about the Knights of Malta. Have you ever heard of the Knights of Malta and Dames of Malta? They do their magnificent apostolate rather quietly and humbly. So
Mhm.
I'm probably one of their biggest promoters slash somebody who's talking about them, because they don't like to talk about their stuff. So it's kind of interesting.
Who, you mean you or Timothy or you
Oh,
yourself?
I think he's talking about it too, but somebody who's not a Knight of Malta kind of talking about it.
Oh, you're talking about yourself.
Yeah, like
Oh, I
talk
see.
about. Not a
When
lot
did
of other people talk about the Knights of
No.
Malta.
When did you start talking about it?
It's actually an adjunct that came out last year. So it came out of my research into the Pilgrim Society. So I did a whole bunch of work on the Pilgrim Society. And then the kind of next one over that a lot didn't know about is the Malta. So I did a show with Courtney Turner about the Knights of Malta. And it's just kind of grown. Like, now that it's on my radar, I just watch it. So then when I saw Rubio in front of the Holy Sepulchre, I knew it because there's actually an overlap. The church that's in the city of London, right in the center of London, it's based on the Holy Sepulchre. It's actually a model, and it was actually ordained by the head of the Jerusalem. I can't remember the name of it, but it's the Jerusalem the head of like the Jerusalem state, the Crusader state, actually kind of ordained this. They call it the Temple Church in the center of the city of London. It's kind of interesting. So it's based on the Holy Sepulchre, and so is the church in the city of Aachen, where Charlemagne actually ruled in the Holy Roman Empire. And they say that Charlemagne, like he's the most people in the Western world are related to Charlemagne over all other people, really. So it's kind of interesting. It's kind of the Christian heritage of the West. But yeah, Dolan, yeah, you'll see him with Trump and stuff. He's around. It's kind of interesting.
Oh yeah, he's a big power broker.
Oliver North, all over the place. Sovereign Military Order of the Knights of Malta. So amongst other things, Iran-Contra scandal. So you get little bits and pieces of it. This is Hegseth, the current, like this is relevant. Like this is all recent stuff. But this is Hegseth's tattoos. This is the Order of Jerusalem that I talked about earlier. It's not, and he's supposedly a Knight of Malta too. He supposedly has a Maltese cross somewhere, but I haven't seen it. But this is a very predominant tattoo right here on his right chest. Right.
Yes, he's completely defaced his body. I don't want to go looking any further for any crosses, but he's got most of his body covered. So,
well, this is Roberts, head of the Supreme Court, headed into a Knight of Malta. I think this is in Italy somewhere. So, and then another kind of well-known conservative pundit, Alan West, is part of the military order of the Temple of Jerusalem. That's what Hegseth is part of too. So. But they have the same kind of motif, red on white.
jeez.
2022. So some of these guys you don't know, you don't see this. Napoleon kicked them off of the Isle of Malta in 1798 when he was headed towards Egypt. But there were times they were fighting after World War II. They had a small air force. And there's the King of Jerusalem. That's the King of Jerusalem cross, right? That we just saw.
Right. On Hegseth is
the Kingdom of Jerusalem. Yeah. Literal Crusader state. So this kind of return of the Jews to the Holy Land kind of coincides with a lot of these guys with this interest in the Holy Land as well. I think if you're a Christian, you're always interested in the Holy Land. That's where it all takes place. James Earl Carter, 100 years old, had a celebration of his life January 9th, 2025, and this was his
wow.
This is his burial thing, just the whole King of Jerusalem.
Isn't that crazy? What does a peanut farmer have to do with that?
I got to find out what his affiliations are. Like I'm interested.
The Holy Order of the Peanut of Georgia. Plus, yeah, that's bizarre. Isn't that crazy, huh?
Yeah, there it is.
That is a strange connection.
Same thing.
Isn't that nutty?
Yeah, so it's really I
tried to find it. I just made a pun.
Very good. It was a good pun.
That was an accident. That is crazy.
So this is still secret. I couldn't find anything online. I tried to find a posting. I asked Grok where I could find it, but they said the order is a private religious organization, and as such, it controls the dissemination of its membership information. So it's quasi-public, quasi-private, I would say, because they have a lot of information online. I mean, you can go to their websites. They have 850 years of the Knights of Malta in Ireland. They have all this. This is another ambassador from Ireland, Knight of Malta. He was appointed permanent observer of the Sovereign Order of Malta to the United Nations in 2019. Also overlapping things with kind of Pete Thiel, who's one of his good friends, is Eric Prince. And Thiel is a steering member of the Bilderberg Group. So Thiel has a heavy-duty influence on Trump's cabinet. So it's very important to kind of see these overlapping relationships and things like that.
And he's, I believe, with Palantir, I believe.
Correct. That's correct. He runs
which
Palantir,
is a massive up and down stock that I follow all the time. And
yeah, it's supposedly dipped, right?
Yeah, well, they have high volatility numbers, so it's up and down. But that's if you can ride the waves, that's how you make money. So it's not a big problem. But no, it's not for the faint of heart. But I think they make, like most of these tech bros, most of their money off the government. So
They do.
That,
I mean,
that
that's kind of the secret between Teal and Musk is they rely on government contracts. A
sure.
lot of this stuff. Yeah.
Great, the best customer. Always pay.
Absolutely. Then they overpay. They love to
Of
overpay.
course. Yeah. Yeah.
So when
It's
you're
the
printing the
fox.
money, you can just numbers are just funny things.
Yeah, exactly. It's the fox investigating the hen house.
Yeah, it is.
There's some trouble here, but not on our perch.
We don't have any auditors, so we can just write number. You want an extra zero? Sure. No
Yeah.
problem. Can you kick
Yeah.
a little bit back or give me some tickets to the ball game or
Well, it's
nudge,
more.
nudge,
Yeah.
wink, wink.
Yeah,
So
but
this is
yeah.
Facebook founding director Teal and Eric Powell. Eric Prince funded Cambridge Analytica. So this is kind of a right wing. This is kind of a Palantir type thing where they influence social media
Mhm.
for the benefit of Trump 2016, I believe. So that's Zuckerberg apologizing 2018. There's all these PACs Teal is involved in. Let's see. Eric Prince was one of the top donors to the PAC that paid for Cambridge Analytica's work for the Trump campaign. He also is just pursuing Maltese citizenship, right? This is 2022. So that's also another connection.
Could probably just buy it.
I would think that would be the case.
Yeah.
This is Jeremy Scahill just saying Prince advises Trump from the shadows. He has been for at least a decade, I think. So there's Trudeau's connection, Club of Rome type stuff.
Well, wait, is there
I forgot what this was in here for. Let's see. Dan
Yeah.
Fournier was
is there any Maltese connection there?
It was just the climate scam which launched at the Club of Rome by Trudeau
Right.
and continued by Justin. So
Yeah,
the
we've
climate
talked.
hoaxers, it's all baloney. The whole climate scam is really just a money laundering scheme. There's Maurice Strong. I think Strong is affiliated with the Knights of Malta.
Okay.
So I think he's a Canadian. Douglas Fairbanks, famous actor, Knight of Malta. I think he was in Gunga Din. This is him at a Knights of Malta ball in Palm Beach. So they're still around. That's Fairbanks with his Knight of Malta cross and cape. Fairbanks with Nancy Reagan, and that is Grace Kelly. So
right.
I think is just like to show these guys are around.
Connection.
Yeah, connected. There he is, Douglas Fairbanks with a Maltese cross. And this is the Prince of Wales, Prince Edward, who was passed over for the kingship, but he was reading something in Wales for in 1933, and you'll see all these guys with their Maltese crosses.
He's the one that sympathized with Hitler. That
and they
that whole thing. They tarred and feathered him for that.
That including, I think he didn't have quite the character for that king to be king. He was a little light-minded, is a way to put it, I guess. He had self-admitted said he wasn't very smart, so I think that they passed him over for his brother, gave him a lot of money, and sent him off with some woman who looked like a man.
Right, as they all do.
They all do, the elites have their own kind of methods. They just say he's like a Hitler sympathizer, and then everybody.
Yeah, well, that's an easy way to dismiss the guy, but there's so many reasons.
Oh yeah, there's a lot. This is interesting. Rose Kennedy, the grand dame of the Kennedy dynasty, at a Knights of Malta ball with another cardinal, I believe.
It looks like Tanya Harding there.
Maybe it was. I don't know.
On the left.
Yeah, who knows?
I'm just guessing, but
I wouldn't want to look like Tanya Harding, but that might have been her. But you can see the Maltese cross in the background here. That's why I have this. It's like
there it is up in the middle. Yeah.
So, in the city of London, another power center is the Clerkenwell Priory, which is the Knights Hospitality of St. John of Jerusalem. So that is the Knights of Malta kind of headquarters in the city of London. It's right in the very center of the city. That's what it looks like. It's not that auspicious, but it has a auspicious history, that's for sure. And they have their own museum about the Knights of Malta. All right, so you can go there and check out their history. If you're in London, go check it out, take some pictures, and send them to me. I would love it. A lot of history and great history in London. So the history of the order, you'll see all the colors as usual. This is on the Via Dolorosa in Jerusalem. So you see this prominent Knights of Maltese cross with this German. This is in German. I think it's John's Order Hospitallers is what it translates to. But this is the road Christ took when he had to carry his cross to be crucified. So this is kind of an older picture I found. This is from the turn of the century. So I think it's been around. Its history has been there for a while. The Sorrowful Way is the translation, Via Dolorosa. And it was the winding route from the former Antonia Fortress to the Church of the Holy Sepulchre, right? 2,000 feet. That's how I started off this presentation. This is another, you'll see all these elite people who are involved in the Knights of Malta. This is Princess Beatrix of the Netherlands, or Holland, I believe. It's a monastery at Clerkenwell. So I don't know what that one's for. So this is Donald J. Trump on December 8th, 2024, announcing Alina Habba will join my White House team as counselor to the president. So she's Chaldean of Middle Eastern heritage. So interesting. This is present. Let's see. Only have a few more left. This is John Leo. This is another Knight of Malta, and what I would call paleo-conservative.
That looks like AI.
It kind of does, but I think that's a real picture. And he's involved in a lot of the stuff. But it's this is Andy Kroll. To understand Leo is his faith. He's a devout Roman Catholic. He's a big admirer of Opus Dei and a Knight of Malta. This is Kenya Grand Master. This is from their website. He's in Kenya, ordaining or talking to President Kibaki in Kenya. And then I think he became, or Uhuru, another guy, became a Knight of Malta in 2022. So they're definitely talking to people in Africa.
Yeah, for sure. They need Africa.
This is the Ark of the Covenant that was in Trump's Mar-a-Lago. So Trump has to know all this regalia and all this history. I think he's very familiar with it. And it was interesting because when I started researching the Knights of Malta, this is before Trump made his play for Gaza. If you remember, like there's this war, it's not really a war, the murder of like innocent people with 2,000-pound bombs taking place in Gaza. And then Trump had this meeting with Netanyahu and basically said the U.S., I know it just drove people apoplectic in like the geopolitical realms and political realms. He just said the U.S. will just take over Gaza and take over that land and build it themselves, which was expected that it would stay kind of an Israeli sphere of influence. But I don't know what Trump's doing. I don't know if he's if that's a feint, if it's, he's just faking people out. But that would mean that's kind of like a foothold again of these Western powers, and may have more to it than you would believe. Because if he does take the troops, American troops, and put them in Gaza, that means that conflict ends, and that decreases Netanyahu's influence in his own government, because he's really, the continuation of that conflict keeps him in power because they see him as a defender of Israel. And then the U.S. is there with a foothold in the Holy Land, and Netanyahu's gone, and then maybe there's peace. I don't know. So strange things, amazing, incredible things are happening. I think the Knights of Malta
are a big part of it.
Yeah, they're there.
Were they part of the Biden administration, do you think? But
I don't think I didn't see that many things coming up. They didn't pop up.
Yeah. So this is the reason why. Yeah.
I think the Biden administration was mostly Jewish and Jewish ideals. A lot of those people, I mean, maybe other than Sullivan, but the real guy, Biden wasn't running the country.
No way.
And Kamala Harris is too stupid to run a hot dog stand. Like, she's a total moron. I'm not trying to be mean, but she's a 2-digit IQ, and that doesn't deserve a lot of the stuff she's got, whether she's a member of the State Bar of California. But I know she got into law school not as a kind of not under racial things, because she supposedly came from a poor background, which is complete nonsense. Both of her
I don't believe her backstory. Her backstory is fake as Obama's, I would say.
Yeah, think
I
you're
even
right.
think she's Indonesian, personally. I think she's part of the bloodlines from the Dutch East India Company, personally.
Wouldn't surprise me at all. But yeah, she's fake, and so I think that the real rulers were like the chief of staff Zients, and mostly Jews. Mostly Jewish influence and Jewish outlook. I think, which is why you saw this kind of slaughter in in the Middle East, like just brutal slaughter, just murdering kids and stuff like that, double tapping them with sniper rifles and stuff, and then this dumb war in Russia, which never should have started, which really took us to the brink of global catastrophe, international nuclear war, and the end of civilization as we know it.
Yeah, I'm as a fakeologist, that's not really my point of view, but that's definitely what they wanted everyone to think. Let's put it that way.
I wouldn't say that. I don't think they told the public exactly what the heck was going on in Russia. I don't think they lied about everything. Really, Zelensky's not really a real politician. He's installed. So,
Oh, he's a porn
and
actor,
yeah, I mean,
a
a
TV host.
cokehead,
Yeah, it
and a
was
joke.
crazy.
He's a
But
joke.
but then again, Trump is a reality television star as well.
Well
So
said.
I think, but he's the best actor in chief they've ever had, and he
One of the
continues.
best, no question about it.
Now you have because we've gone quite a bit over time, but that's fine because we had a shaky start. But I just want to remind people of where they can get your work because you do have a very big podcast with a lot of followers, and you do quite a few investigations. So this is just an adjunct to your normal work, I believe.
Yeah, I mean,
This
really became an investigative journalist. I mean, I've been doing different subjects and kind of just following kind of a trail of different subjects. Like I said earlier, Pilgrim Society led me to the Knights of Malta, but I've done investigations on a wide variety of stuff: culture, true crime, Aleister Crowley, the Smiley Face Killers. So I have my podcast in the top 0.5% in the
yeah, it's
world.
huge.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's pretty good size. Top 30,000 podcasts. And then I also have 5 books and 5 documentaries that you can see the 5 documentaries on my Patreon page. And you can
Okay.
see today I just did a psychological analysis of Luigi Mangione. I talked about the new golden age. That's Trump kind of stuff. Or he talked about the new golden age of J.D. Salinger's Catcher in the Rye, which is probably one of the creepiest books I've ever read. I read
Mhm.
it twice, but the first time I didn't understand it. So talked about the shooting of Lee Harvey Oswald. I have a lot of guests, done a lot of JFK investigation. So really kind of it's been idiosyncratic, but also I feel like I'm doing the work the mainstream media doesn't do and something more I do more try to be more than superficial. I try to look deeper into subjects and topics. So people can check that out.
What was your background before you were an investigator? Did you have another
Well,
background in
I
journalism?
was a lawyer. I passed the bar in California in 1998.
Oh, wow.
And then, so I'm a lawyer, and then I worked there for a while. And then I was in mortgages and real estate for a while. And then my first book I published in 2010.
Mhm.
And then I kind of worked for Ed Opperman for 3 years on the Ed Opperman Report as a,
Right.
as a
Okay.
producer. And then the COVID happened, and I needed to get a new job. And this kind of became my new full time job.
Oh,
And
you
now
worked
it's
for
kind of,
Ed. Okay.
yeah, it was great. I
Okay.
really like Ed. Ed was great. He was a great boss. He just kept calling me a Trump lover.
Mhm.
And if I didn't agree with them, it was like Trump love. And then they had the whole riots in 2020. And I was like, dude, I'm done with you, man. So I
Okay.
got pissed at him. And I
So was
was
he
like,
more of a Democrat kinda
I
guy,
think
or
so. I think he's an avowed socialist. I think so.
Oh, is that right? Because
Yeah.
he, has a ton of podcasts as well, and some of them are
He's
more
done
interesting than
tons
others.
of work. Some of those guests that are on that show are on there because I booked them.
Oh, I
So if
got
you
it.
see the guests from like 2017 to 2000 or something like that.
I had to unsubscribe to his podcast because it was flooding my inbox, or not my inbox, but my new podcast list. Because 'cause he'd
Hmm.
re-release 10 at once.
Oh wow, I didn't
I
know
thought
that. I
yeah,
know he redoes. I've been redoing mine because my catalog. I'm trying to kind of like repeat stuff that I did 3 or 4 years ago. But I know
oh,
he
you
put some of the old stuff back. But some of those are great. And by the way, I also have like the old Visigoth archives too. which are-
Yes,
I
because
have like
yeah,
yeah, those are I think 800 or 900 shows. Really, kind of the beginning of the alternate medias there. Like so many names that are still around are in that, and unfortunately, people who've passed away. But a lot of those people are really at the beginning of this new media, which really has become overcome the mainstream media. I mean,
oh,
when
for
Joe
sure.
Rogan gets 50 million watches of him talking to Trump, like the people on like CNN and Fox would salivate at those kind of numbers. So
Oh, I agree. It's just hard to find all the podcasts now. There's I guess like websites, an infinite number,
3
and
million, there's 3 million podcasts.
yeah, and how many are really pumping out at a regular rate?
Wow,
Um,
that's a good question.
I
I
think
don't,
there's a lot of dead end
I would
podcasts
say
that
10
start
to 20% are really putting out content on a regular basis.
Yeah. I didn't mind at Opperman shows, it just I was getting all I was just it was sort of flooding and overwhelming me, and it was filling up my, because I use a podcast, app called Podcast Addict, the number 1 app for Android, and
Nice,
every
very good.
time a new show is published, then it goes on to my playlist, and his would come 10 at a time, and then my whole playlist would be his stuff. And I do like to keep a rotation because it does keeps more interesting if I listen to different shows from different people. That's how I like
The hosts are trying to game the system to always be at the top of somebody else's
that might be it.
thing. That's
Yeah.
what they're doing. That's what I think he's doing, and I've done something similar to that because you always want to because people don't scroll through. So yeah,
Well, yeah,
it's kind of a
I
game,
almost
right?
yeah, it is a game because then I forget what I subscribe to, so I have you have to really be good at tuning your podcast app up.
Yes,
So
I would
so it
agree.
doesn't get flooded by yeah, I guess you do that in a way, but I don't mind if it's new stuff, but if it's the recycled stuff that I've already heard, then it just gets aggravating trying to
Right.
figure
Podcast Addict is one of the best though. Like when you
it
go
is.
to a podcast on there, you can scroll through and you can search, and it scrolls through the entirety of the entire podcast. So some of these hosts who have done a lot, their catalog's long. You can scroll through and do keywords and things like that, and
Yeah,
as the
it's very good.
podcast, yeah, yeah,
Yeah, it is very good. It's the number 1. There's a few things I'd like change, but the guy always tells me to go to the website and make a suggestion but sometimes he tweaks it when I say something's not working. So he's pretty responsive. It's a paid app or a free app. I pay for it, so it is worth it. But yeah, you're one of my regular callers or chatters is a big fan of yours,
oh, cool.
and your he knew he listened to the Visigoth stuff back in the day. So he actually is enjoying your republishing of them because I don't think so that podcast is now defunct.
He's retired. Visigoth Keith Hansen has,
He's in his 70s, isn't he?
yeah, he's an older guy, and
So he's done
he's
with
taking
back.
care of some aged relatives. And I've had him on my show. We've talked, but
Mhm.
I think he's done doing as a host. But some of his shows were great, man. They're really good.
Very
They're
good.
still good, even 20 years later. So I'm glad that I've
Oh
been
yeah.
entrusted with those, and he gave me permission. So
Yeah,
thanks,
because no
Keith.
one so you put him out as a podcast in a form that he probably didn't do back in the day. He'd probably just uploaded audio files on
Yeah,
a website, but now
exactly.
you put them into the podcast circulation so they show up in a
All over
more
the place.
orderly
Yeah,
fashion.
yeah.
Yeah.
And you can if you type in Visigoth, it'll pop up in a search engine. And also, like you're right, there are still weird sites that like don't blog talk radio and things that had his earlier stuff. So the
The
technology
audio.
of podcasting's like gone through 2 iterations since he's like stopped doing it. That's crazy.
Yeah, and his audio was a little weak, the audio quality, so it's hard to hear often,
No question.
hissing. I don't
The
know.
good news is that some of these places will equalize or modify and upgrade that audio
Yeah.
automatically, which is cool. So hopefully you'll get to one of those sites where they do that. That'll do that for free.
Were you a fan of Alan Watt? Similar.
Yeah, I loved Alan Watt. I went through a huge Alan Watt phase,
Mm.
especially through the original Visigoth. So he's passed away too, but I think I even
Yes.
ordered one of his manuscripts.
Yeah.
But yeah, he was one of the best and one of the earliest kind of media critics out there. Like he understood they were both full of baloney and BSing people, and this is the people who are doing it. This is why they're BSing you. So
Yeah.
Alan
Well,
Watt was great.
this is the golden age of audio and podcasting, as far as I'm concerned. There's so much good content out there. You have to find it. You have to weed it out and go through it. So I'm hoping this podcast can create a little cross pollination between my point of view and yours. And
Yeah, I'll repost this audio without a doubt. I'll put it out there so people can find your links and stuff like that. If you have any links,
yeah.
send it to me. Yeah.
Oh no, I will. This show is on my own video platform, Fakeologist, because occasionally we talk about things that get our YouTube channel struck down, like it has been last week. It wasn't even me that was saying it was a guest. I guess I missed a couple keywords, and YouTube, of course, with the transcription services, found it and struck it down. But definitely, we'll definitely cross promote. That's how, when you're a guest on other shows, that's how I find some of their shows, because you post them on your site, and then all of a sudden I know about them, because otherwise it's really impossible to sort out the different shows that are out there.
I
It's
learned a lot from Ed, and I learned a lot of other shows from Ed.
Mhm.
So like I've I have certainly have go-to ones and things like that. But yeah, there's great content on out there on my rotation too, like of what I listen to. So
Yeah, there is some good stuff. So you have a presentation on the Pilgrim Society?
yeah, I got a good one.
Well, maybe we should have you back for that, because
Yeah,
I mean, these are the
anytime.
power structures that are really, I think, worldwide, and they're the real connection, I think. It's
Yeah,
not just the Jews, it's not
right.
just the Jesuits, but the Catholic Church, as you've just illustrated through this sovereign military order of Malta, they definitely have the infrastructure.
Yes, they
So
do. They certainly do. It's
so
a tough, there were some tough fights in the 100 Years' War, and
Mhm.
Catholics fought for and maintained supremacy in certain countries. And but yeah, the Pilgrims kind of overlaps with this, but it's more of like the Anglo-American power structure that's still extant. And there are people out there today who are members of the Pilgrim Society who do not disclose it, aka Tucker Carlson, member of the Pilgrim Society, hanging out with all kinds of bigwigs, headed by the King Charles III. He never discloses anything. He's a huge moved into the alternate media with force. And Pilgrim Society, which leads back to the city of London, and like I mentioned earlier, the Temple Church that ties to Jerusalem. So these guys all have authority going back to these kind of knighthoods, going back to the Holy Land.
well,
That's where they claim some of their authority. There's no question.
all these so-called secret or not so secret societies, all the members that are in positions of power, they never disclose their alliances at all, from Freemasonry to, it doesn't even matter. They just don't bring it up, and it's just, they all write it off as symbolic, and it's just a little club that we go to, and we talk we talk to each other once a year, and
And they
we have
minimize it all.
ceremonies. They
Yeah,
super minimize it,
yeah.
but that
The
that
Pilgrim
can't be right.
Society is a follow on to the Milner Group and the Round Table
Yeah.
and Rhodes. It's not overtly says that it's connected, but all the same people kind of moved into that, or relations or something like that. And it's incredibly powerful. There's a difference between public and private diplomacy. These guys are engaged in private diplomacy. They don't let the public know. That's why they never talk about it. It's not like they're either taking a secret oath, or wouldn't know, but it's to their interest. Have you ever heard of a game called Werewolf?
Yeah, you mean back in grade
No.
school?
Well, it's a game where it's like a party game where two
Mhm.
people are werewolves, and
Oh,
they
yeah.
sit in a circle, and then they're anointed werewolves, about 10 people. So 10 people don't know who the werewolves are. And the group closes their eyes. The werewolves pick somebody to eat.
Mhm.
Everybody opens their eyes. That person's taken out. And then everybody in the group tries to figure out who the two werewolves are. Who
All
selected
right.
these people?
Oh, I see. Yeah.
And the real point of this, we're invested by a Russian guy, Russian graduate student. The point is to show that people with secret information or secret monopolies on information will always win against the herd. They will always win against the group. The group will never figure it out because the secret information is held tight in a smaller group within that group. So all these, that's why the persistence of secret societies exist all throughout the world. There's always these secret societies there because people want to monopolize information, which is power, which is power.
And that's actually another podcast I found just recently based on a Substack that I just found out recently from a guest who just put a link in one of my comments. And he talks about the Phoenicians, the Phoenician class. They were in charge of trade. And one of the things that they had was extra knowledge because they moved around. They were the seafarers that brought goods from one part of the Mediterranean to the other. So they knew of who was over there. So they're the ones that really use deception to keep their monopoly on being the top merchants of the area. So they're the ones that invented things like don't go to this sea, there's a monster over there.
Oh,
And
interesting.
all that kind of stuff. So by deception, they kept monopolies on trade and even before the Greeks. So it's really interesting that the so if we are living in a merchant world now, like the whole world is a commercial venture, then by deception that thy shall monopolize trade. You know, it
Right.
they talk about it as in the context of war, but it's really just to monopolize business and trade and control the banks and the treasuries. That's what it's all about. So I put a couple of these podcasts on Fakotube, my platform, but on my blog I've linked to it as well, I believe. But I think it's called PhoenicianNation.substack.com or something like that. But
Right.
uh, it all ties in. I mean,
It
all
does.
these little pieces of the puzzle are linked. And I
Yeah.
refuse to go where everyone tells me to go.
Yeah. Well, you know, the root word for Venice is Phoenician. It's Phoenicia, Venetian, right? It's the
Right.
same. It's
Okay.
this.
Yeah.
And Matthew Arrett is a big believer in the
Mhm.
Venetian nobility are still around, like the
Right.
black, because they were the big power in the Mediterranean
Yes.
and
I
the
think
Middle
we're
East.
talking about the same thing all the time. We're just using different names
Yeah, I
all
think
the
you're right.
time. I think we're all on to the same thing, and maybe some of them call themselves Jews now, but again, it's the same group of people by different names. We get hung up on the names. We
Right.
get all the names, and then we think, okay, well, where do we go from here? Okay, now that we know that the Sovereign Military Order of Malta is this worldwide group that meets and they have diplomatic powers and immunities and passports. What are we supposed to do? Is it just
Yeah, just
knowing about it
acknowledge
enough?
that. I mean, it's like the thing is that you're breaking the informational monopoly
Yeah,
by discussing it like this. So at least you know, like, hey, is this guy maybe part of a secret society or is Catholic? Is he a Knight of Malta?
yeah.
Like, maybe that we should find this out. Like, what's going on? So I
Maybe
think
he's not in the country's best interest. Maybe he's working for some other interests.
maybe he's pro-Catholic. Like there's been big battles in Old England between the Protestants and Catholics, right?
Mhm, mhm.
Switching, like there was a Catholic monarch and a Protestant. So,
Yeah, but
I
maybe that
think
was all part of it too. Maybe that was a dialectic they created as well to make it seem like they're
that's true.
fighting.
That's true. But at least in the US, we've been fed kind of like a state propaganda. Like we haven't been told about all this stuff all the way down through the educational system. So at least people are seeing the world in a little bit broader tapestry or wider angle lens, so to speak. So we know what's going on. Like this is so it's not just the Jews who may be interested in the Holy Land. It's these other powerful Christian Catholic groups. So I'm not really
Absolutely.
making a real moral judgment either. It's like, okay, well, you're interested in it. Maybe that influences policy, and there's things going on underneath the surface between the state of Israel and Catholics. I don't know.
It's a whole swarming bunch of groups that are working together against the people and robbing them blind, I would say. But as long as people are aware of it, if they're okay with knowing all this, then there's nothing we can do. But they should be made aware of it. Even right down to, is your police chief a Freemason, and who is he?
Right.
Who are his alliances and allegiances to? And if everyone's okay with it, then that's fine. All right. Well, we'll have you back on. Frank, if you want to say goodnight to William, you can. I don't want to exclude you.
Yes, good night, William. My apologies for the...
Okay.
All right.
All right, guys. Thanks for having me.
If you want to come back to do the Pilgrims, I'd be happy to have you back, William. So
yeah, send me an email. The best thing is send me an email and let me put it in my calendar. So
okay, that's
take
awesome.
those steps.
So everyone needs to go to your website, WilliamRamseyInvestigates.com. I'll put a link to it in my show notes. And thanks for the great presentation and talk. I really appreciate it.
My pleasure. Thanks for having me. Take
All
care.
right. All the best. Thanks, everybody. All right. Take care, William, from WilliamRamseyInvestigates.com. Frank, thanks to you. Thanks for joining tonight. A little different kind of show tonight. Little spicy there, but
I'm not quite sure what it was, but there you go.
Yeah, well,
it is what it is.
It was just a little misunderstanding, I guess. He's really just an investigator on. I really want to have him on because of his SMOM presentation. I don't know. Yeah. I actually don't know any of his other opinions on some of the fakeology topics, but because he had such a big presentation, I wanted to get it through. Because we only have an hour, but we're already an hour and a half. So anyway,
very good presentation.
I thought it was interesting. I thought it was good. And if everyone remembers, back in the day, we used to have Robin Fisher on, and he always talked about these guys. He always got annoyed by those that said, "Oh, it's the Jews, the Jesuits." No, it's this other alliance that you have to take a look at as well. Maybe they have something to do with it. Anyway, that's why we have all these different guests. They all bring it in, and you can all make your own decision. I think it's a very salty mixture of all of these different groups, and they probably don't always get along on every level. So, but one thing everyone can agree on is if you like this show, fakeologist.com/donate. Please donate and help keep FakeoTube going. If you noticed, YouTube, our first YouTube channel, was struck down. That's why half the people aren't here, because they did.
So which show was it that got struck down?
It was the Cerrucci show, where I hardly said a word because I came late because they started early. Mm-hmm. And I didn't say anything because I hardly said anything in the whole show, but I guess somebody said something that YouTube flagged, and I didn't take the video down because I didn't think anything really was controversial about what was being said, but somebody mentioned COVIDs, and that brought the whole thing down. Okay. Yeah, so FakeoTube, you guys help fund it, so please use it, support it, and we'll see you on the weekend. Frank, take care. Have a great night.
Terrific. Thanks, Tim.
All right. Bye, everybody.